on WHYL.
From the L.B. Smith Ford Lincoln Studios, Oldies 102.9 is WHYL Carlisle.
Welcome to the Real Estate Radio Guys, your weekly source for all things real estate. We're your hosts, real estate broker John Rainville and your mortgage expert Kingsley Harmer discuss everything from mortgage rates to home staging for foreclosures and everything in between that affect the daily real estate market. Real people, real questions, real answers. Today's show is brought to you by www.pagoloan.com, your source for new mortgage loans. NMLS number 1018. EnviroQuest, trusted for home inspections and radon mitigation in Central PA for over 25 years. And brokersrealty.com, the easiest way to search for real estate in your hometown. Now, on to the show.
Good morning, everybody. It's a fantastic day in Pennsylvania. Nice sunshiny day, and we're having some technical issues here, but we'll be with you in a second, folks.
I think we're on.
Good morning. Hi, it's John Rainville, broker of brokersrealty.com, or the Brokers Realty Group in Pennsylvania, New York, Maryland. We also have an outpost in Cochran, Georgia. And we're going to be having an interesting show today. We're going to be talking about selling your home in 2018, in spring of 2018. We just put out our new report. And we're going through some technical issues here this morning because we've got Kingsley Beatbox Harmer on the board this morning because Uncle Al, Big Dog, is walking on pins and needles today. He's got some gout, Kingsley.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to have.
Yeah, so, or at least that's what he's telling me. It might have been just, hey, roll over, honey. I don't have to go to work today.
I wish I could do that. You know how many times I've gotten up and said, you know what, maybe the show doesn't need to go on today.
You never know. You never know.
Well, last week, we were speaking about how wonderful it was to wake up with the sun, out, and you're drinking your coffee, and then all of a sudden, a week later, it's pitch black again.
Yeah, so I mean, it's the weather's great. I can't wait for spring. It's not as dark. John Stas today is going to be talking about insulation issues, and there are many types of insulation. And actually, I hope one of our future shows here, we're going to have Sherwin-Williams rep on. I was at a seminar for builders at the Harrisburg Home Builders Association this past week. And, folks, I was astounded, just like Kingsley and I were astounded the other week about what we found out from roofing, from Central PA Roofing and Sean Barkowski. I mean, it is not your grandpa's paint anymore. I mean, I was amazed at the things the technology has come for as far as paint. I mean, I'm talking about antibacterial. They've got paint now that will actually just blow your mind with what it does. Paint. Yes, paint.
I think if paint is just a liquid you throw up on a wall and let it dry.
Yeah. When we get them on the show, and then we're going to be having another future show here with Lezer Lumber, and they're going to be talking about the tariffs, hopefully next week.
Which could be, or we'll find out how that affects or how they believe it's affecting the market, especially new build.
Yeah, it's definitely raising prices. It's driving the prices. So, Kingsley, what's going on in the mortgage market this week before we get into our show?
Well, the good news is we kind of backtracked a tad to the point where we've kind of held steady at the lowest rates over the last few weeks. We're pushing a new level, if you will, that there may or may not be, let's all keep our fingers crossed, a backtrack in rates by maybe an eighth, a 0.25%. Would be fabulous. It's kind of trending that way, but it's, that up and down portion right now. So let's hope that we get there.
Outstanding. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I almost can't wait already for the end of the year just to see how our end of the year predictions for this year will fall into place.
I'm okay with just keeping it one day at a time here because rates are still low, and we've actually kind of held steady. So we were supposed to be here at 5% already, so we're borderline going backwards again, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's all good. I mean, the rates are still good. Well, folks, we're going to be talking here this morning about reasons to sell your home and what it's going to mean for you here in 2018. We are definitely still have a lack of listings, and that is slowing down the market. But we're going to go through a complete scenario for you. But right now, if you're thinking about selling, we're thinking about maybe making the move up. The reasons you want to get your home on here in the spring, and, that's coming. That's just right around the corner. Is that next week, Kingsley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I thought it was the 20th or 21st.
I think it is. So we're almost here to spring. We're almost here to the time in Pennsylvania where everything greens up and it looks gorgeous. That's why we live here, right? So there's 5 reasons right now that, the experts are telling everyone this is the time to get your house ready, get it on the market, and look to sell. The first reason is demand is still strong. Kingsley and I keep telling you that every week, that we're short on inventory. And right now, that means that there's less competition now. So you don't have to really, the less competition, the better the prices, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. Competition. There's all kinds of competition for the little bit of homes that are out there.
Well, in certain price ranges, no doubt. We're seeing a lot of multiple offers.
That $100,000 to $200,000 range.
Oh, it's brutal.
I mean, I've had several buyers this week already miss out on multiple offerings.
Yeah, we had, I know I was helping one of my agents yesterday, actually last night, with a multiple offer situation we had on one of our listings. And I mean, we're talking up over asking, offers very close, and we'll have to discuss that. It's just crazy, and we're in about that 160, 170 type price range, is exactly what you said.
Well, even the 200 range, the low 200s, it's that affordability range that obviously more people can afford. And, the idea of getting $10,000 off and 6% seller's concession towards closing costs, at least in that range, is kind of gone. Or any assistance towards closing costs.
Correct. We're seeing it where it actually is getting added on top or worked into it somehow, and then we'll be talking later on about how that plays into the appraisals. So right now the processes will be a little bit quicker because people are not overloaded, and I'm talking about title companies, the lenders. Everyone has a little bit more opportunity right now, and this is, folks, one of the best times in history here in the United States to make that move up. If you're thinking about moving up, this is the year to do it. Your home is needed to be put on the market, and prices are expected to, overall, we're looking for like about a 4.3% increase.
Well, I think nationwide. I've already seen it. I mean, look, buyers that were looking at a property for 110, 120 a year ago, they're already at 160 in that lower price range. And then you get up into the 300 range, which is your median range, 300 to 450. Even they've gone up that 3 to 4% already from last year, and it's, like you said, anticipated to go up another 4%. So I think this is ideal if you want to possibly get a bigger home because your family's growing, you have another child on the way, or you're contemplating it. You're going to get the most for your home now if you're in that 100 to 225 range, because people are overbidding that property. So take that abundance of cash that you'd be getting because of the competition for your property and move it up into that 300 to 450 range and utilize it for that down payment. And, especially
absolutely,
with interest rates still as low as they are, it really is a perfect scenario for that move-up buyer. Yeah,
and here in central Pennsylvania right now, we're finding it is under 100,000, that market is almost non-existent. It's almost impossible to find anything in that lower price tier anymore.
You're looking at fixer-uppers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or obviously way outskirts. You're not going to be, in town or within striking distance of Harrisburg or Camp Hill.
So, what we're finding is the buyer demand's continuing to outpace, how many homes we have for sale. And, the outlook for the entire year in Pennsylvania is considered to be strong. I mean, most of the nation, it's going to be a very strong year for the buyer demand. And we're talking about that. That's foot traffic. That's how many people are out there looking. And we're definitely seeing it pick up. But what's also the anticipation is that the seller traffic is going to be weak, that still we don't have enough people putting their homes on the market. They're actually even also talking about it on some of the real estate boards that some of the investors that have some rental units may want to think about cashing in, now. And, also, let's say that you have 4 or 5 single-family homes. Maybe you want to liquidate those now. Let single families buy them and then get you up into maybe a larger investment. What's your thought on that, Kingsley?
I agree, 1,000%. I mean, there's nothing on the market, and the funny thing is you and I can recall talking about this lack of inventory for
it seems forever.
Well, almost since we started this show, I think. And you would have thought, especially with every indication in the market doing well, every indication of a buyer's confidence in the U.S., that inventory would be growing. And it just seems to be stagnant, if you will. And I can't put my finger on why.
Well, I would, looking at the overall picture, trying to give, broad strokes here, I think part of it is because the new construction arena has changed because of what we're going to talk in the future show here about the tariffs driving up costs, the costs of land development. So we're no longer in this country, in most areas, are we building any affordable housing. We're not. If you want to buy here in central PA under 200, you're getting a townhouse at best. But to get a single-family home on a lot, you're nothing. It doesn't exist, right?
I had a buyer this week that we were looking at options, and that $150,000 mark anywhere in our area just seemed to be almost impossible to find, unless it was, like you said, a row home or townhome scenario. Now, interestingly enough, and I think we'll probably have a guest on in the coming weeks, is modular/manufactured housing. And the big affordability of that is putting, one on the land, because you can get one for a nice price. It's a matter of finding
a lot,
scattered lots.
Yeah, you find a lot, then you've got a loan program, right, that can help them put that whole package together.
We can put the whole package together.
And folks,
buying.
That may be an option for you if you're looking to buy. You may have to restructure the way you're thinking and not be looking for an existing home. You may be, if you're a first-time buyer and you're in a rental situation, you may be able to have the extra time it takes to get into a new home.
Well, and what better to have your own home that you kind of half design? I mean, obviously you have to keep it within your budget, but if you're getting a brand new home with the fixtures and upgrades that you like within your budget, how much better of a situation can you be in and still have affordable housing?
Correct. And the home prices over the last year, every area of the country, they've gone up. I mean, here in the Northeast, we were up over 5%. Pennsylvania did pretty good, but the entire Northeast, no. Did we see the 12% appreciation they had out in Washington State? No. I don't know if that was, what do you think that was, Google? Who was driving that out there? Somebody out there in Seattle had to be driving those prices,
I have no
man.
clue.
Yeah.
I think it was a Facebook fact.
We do have some states that are still challenged on that. But Pennsylvania last year, 4.9%, overall, appreciation in prices. That's good.
Pennsylvania has always been more of a conservative state. For example, you go out to California, you remember back then, there was appreciation at like 20% rates.
Yeah, they were about 8.5% last year.
Right. But then, so they have the up and they also had the huge down.
That's correct.
Pennsylvania didn't even have really a down. It was a flat.
You're right.
Which is a good investment for somebody buying into real estate, because we don't have that huge up and down curve. It's just a nice steady increase in appreciation.
Now, why Kingsley and I are mentioning this about, the different states, it could impact you. Like if you're moving from a lower appreciation state and you're and moving to a high appreciation state, like Washington State again, that's going to impact you on your buying power. So you may want to look at that. And this is all information we're going to put up on our site here. Right after the show, we're going to have all this up there. If you're thinking about selling, we're going to give you more information than you may care to read. But we want you to have the information, and this is our newest report out.
And it's good information. I mean, every fact that we're going to be posting here really does lead to its time. I mean, if you were ever thinking about owning, now's the time. And, I'm going to go back to just back a page, if you will, and the reason to buy, aside from the perfect scenario and move up, let's take one step backwards and say anybody that's renting, right, now's the perfect time to rent. I'm going to put up a little...
Wait. So perfect time to rent?
People that
Man,
are
you're killing me, dude.
People that are renting, it's the perfect time to buy. And the reason being is there's a little bit of charting, and it basically explains, okay, if you're paying only $500 a month in rent over the next X amount of years, all that money is just being tossed aside. I mean, we're talking, 500 times 12 is $6,000 a year. Multiply that by 15 years, you got $90,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's a proven fact. The biggest way that people in the United States gain equity or money or wealth is with their real estate. If you rent, a net worth for someone that's a renter compared to a homeowner after like 10 years, it's tens and tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and the funny thing is we're talking about this appreciation and the differences in states, right?
Right.
And when you look at the United States as a whole, Pennsylvania is one of, maybe 12 to 15 states where owning is actually deemed a whole lot cheaper than renting.
And we're going to be coming up to, that about, Pennsylvania is one of the highest home ownership states in the country.
Really?
Yeah. But part of the reason, Kingsley and I keep beating this to you, the real reason home prices are increasing is because lack of inventory. Now, but that is impacted then by price range. So what we're telling you folks is, I don't know, Kingsley, I'm going to say below 250 in the central PA market. That's still a seller's market. Those homes are selling rapidly.
Oh, my gosh. Right?
Multiple offers, lots of competition, not enough homes to choose from. When you get in that 250, I'm going to say to about 399, maybe 400 range, I'm going to say it's sort of neutral. We're probably out into a standard marketing time of, 4 to 6 months. And then once we get over that 400, folks, it's definitely back into being a buyer's market. I mean, definitely, much longer marketing times as we start to increase, in the price ranges. And when you get up into, the serious McMansions, things that are over the 750 threshold with the new tax law, there's going to be some impact on that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later here in the show, about what the impact's going to be. And they've actually done a study on it, state by state. But right now, we're at the lowest housing inventory nationwide in 5 years, Kingsley. 5 years. I mean, it's crazy.
Again, I still go back to why.
Well, I still have to say, if the builders were able to build some more affordable housing, we're still not having enough new home starts. We need probably another 50% in the new home starts. I think that's part of it.
So it's the affordable housing, because as you said,
it's the affordable housing.
That middle range of 200 up, you say is, I don't want to say stagnant, but it's kind of flat, right?
Yeah, every market that we're in, like, Hazleton, Wilkes-Barre, in the Poconos, They are all screaming for some new affordable housing. Okay, and I know, over the last, since the recession, builders have been reluctant to spec homes, but I'd love to see some start to spec homes. I'd love to see some more affordable housing be able to be spec'd.
And part of that problem that we're going to delve into maybe next week is the cost of specking a home is so much higher today than it was.
It's a little bit riskier.
X amount of years ago.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're just talking about permitting. I mean, the costs are crazy. So you have, the only houses that are being built, right, are the ones that are in the 250 and up range, the 400, we'll say. So you have that inventory plus the inventory where people are actually trying to sell. So there is a whole lot more possibility. And it's more of a buyer's market than it is a seller's market in that range. So you have more choices.
Right. And I know, like Kingsley said, since we started the show, we've talked about homes that are underwater. That's where somebody bought a home and it's worth less than what it was the day they bought it. So sort of like a car when you buy it and you drove it off the lot, and now you just lost $5,000 on your car value. But over the last year, almost over 700,000 homes have actually picked up positive equity. And I like to tout Pennsylvania as a solid investment state because over 96% of our homes here, they did a study, are now positive equity. So that means we only have 4% that are underwater. I mean, from where we were in the depths of the recession.
10 years ago.
Yeah. So our numbers are actually very close to California's numbers.
Really?
Yeah. They're a little bit higher. But some states, it's still not, quite as good. But, for example, Florida's only 91% are now back to having positive equity. Okay, they definitely are sort of any of the sand states, right? We talk about the sand states: Nevada, California, Arizona, Florida.
That was all speculation. That was everybody buying and flipping, and flipping, and building condos out the wazoo.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could buy a condo down in Florida, 8 years ago for like $20,000.
So that's a lot of folks that are listening to us right now. You may not believe that you have equity in your home. Reach out, give me a call, be happy to come take a look at your house, do a market analysis and let you know exactly where you are in as far as your equity goes, because you may be surprised right now. You may be able to make that move up. You may have only bought a few years ago, or you may have bought at the peak of the market, and we may be back to the point where you are into the having enough equity to either get out and move on and move up.
Well, now's the time to sell. I mean, there's no question about it. You're in a great situation. You're in a spot where the inventory's low, so your house is a commodity right now. So sell it.
Here's an interesting fact. According to NAR and the mortgage industry that has done a study on this, over 84% of the homeowners in Pennsylvania are considered to have what they call significant equity. That's pretty solid, folks. That's a strong number.
And that's a silent, forced savings plan.
So if you're one of the homeowners out there that's listening in today and you're unsure about how much equity you have and you're just curious about your ability to move, give me a call. Let's meet up. Let's evaluate your situation, because we're not going to charge you for that. We're going to do it for free. And then if you're thinking about it after that, we're going to hook you up with someone like Kingsley, who's going to tell you what your new mortgage options are, which are just outstanding. I mean, every day I meet with you, Kingsley, and you tell me about a new loan program, and I go, really?
Hey,
you can do that now?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, the market demands, these products. So, we see that, and, our back-end team and everybody else, at the corporate level, they go to work and they find these programs and they find the money to put these programs together. So it's a good time. So real quick, we got to pay some bills, but if somebody wants to discuss with you what kind of equity they may have and what kind of options. What's the best number to call?
You know what? I'm going to tell them this weekend because I'm going to be out and about. I'm helping some agents. I'm actually going down to Maryland to show a waterfront property with one of my agents today. And tomorrow I'm up showing with another one of my agents, going up to help her show just, a fantastic, hunting lodge up there along the New York border. But call me on my cell phone, 717-554-7430.
Buying a home? Your good credit could equal 0 down. Schedule for a free consultation today at kingsley.today and get started on the path to home ownership. NMLS number 1018. Good credit should equal better mortgage rates. Schedule for a free rate quote at kingsley.today and get your lower rate. NMLS number 1810.
Listen for the Real Estate Radio Guys with everything you need to know about buying and selling real estate. Saturday mornings from 8 till 9 on Oldies 102.9 WHYL.
At 8 weeks old, you brought him home. He's been your best friend, companion, and a true part of the family. Now he's 14, and you worry about how much longer you'll have him. Making an end-of-life decision is never easy. But if you're at that final stage with your pet, think Peaceful Pet Passage. They offer a full line of services to make this difficult time easier for you and your pet. Peaceful Pet Passage offers an exclusive cremation service. They're the only company in the area that has the capability to privately cremate your pet at their location and offer a video certification that guarantees your pet was privately cremated, all within 48 hours. Your pet's name will also be honored on the Wall of Remembrance at the PA State Pet Memorial at no cost to you. Peaceful Pet Passage offers pickup service within 4 hours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from your home or your vet's office and provides in-home pet euthanasia. Visit peacefulpetpassage.com or call 691-9214.
Well, we're back, and we're going to be continuing to talk about people that that you should be getting your home on the market here in 2018. The other week, Kingsley and we spoke a lot about the new, tax laws. Some people call them the new Trump tax laws, and how the code is, impacting some of the new home values. But, again, everyone likes to do studies. So actually, CoreLogic just released a new Home Price Insights report, and they're saying that the new tax law is only going to impact about 4.5% of our owners in Pennsylvania. That makes sense to me because we don't have as many of the homes over $750,000 as some of the other states. So, California, it's going to be like almost 10% that are going to get impacted with the new tax law. Florida, about 6%. So that's overall, we're right just a little tick above the national average. We're only about, which is 4.3%, they say is going to have some impact.
Well, come on. How many people actually, when they do their tax returns, and that's where we're coming up with that 4%, how many people actually do an itemized deduction on their taxes? And for those that actually qualify for that, that's what falls into that 4% realm.
Correct, because they're going to be capped at the $12,000.
Right. As far as everybody else underneath, really has no reason to complain because at the end of the day, you're getting a $24,000 write-off per family as opposed to the $12,000.
I think what's surprising is, looking at what NAR's study was about, how the impact of the tax law is going to be on individual states' housing prices. Dude, I thought it was going to be like California, right? I thought California would be impacting there. Not so. It's states like Illinois, New York, Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. Those are all states where it's going to impact. They're going to have some drops in prices, they're saying, because of the tax law. Pennsylvania is about as flat as you can get. We're like 0.1% of an impact.
So Chicago is going to be impacted by the tax law.
Yeah. New York City.
I see New York City.
Right, because we got $1 million parking spaces in New York City, right? So, I can definitely see that. Massachusetts, New Jersey, and I don't know if that's because you've got a high number of Beach homes, but obviously they must have a lot of homes over that $750,000
There's some
threshold.
nice areas in Jersey. You know, all of the people.
What's nice about Jersey? The Pine Barrens?
Well, the fact that it's
Beach
barren.
homes.
Barren.
Yeah.
No, well, think about it. All the people that are, you know, Philadelphia sports, New York sports, they all own in communities out in Jersey because it's far enough away from the city, but close enough to where they have to work.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of people that work in Philly that jump over the bridge, but jump over the Ben Franklin to go live in Jersey.
Yeah.
Right? Cherry Hill. I mean, there's a lot of nice areas. There are a lot of nice areas in Jersey. I like Cape May.
Well, you know, there's like 4 or 5 good areas, and then the rest of it's just swamp.
Bottom line, folks, don't sweat the new tax law. It's going to have a minimal effect on our real estate market across the country. Now we're going to move into an area of Kingsley's domain. You know, mortgage rates. I think, you know, we're going to see mortgage rates are, you know, going to maybe get up towards 4.9% by the end of the year. Kingsley, what's your thought on that, buddy?
Well, you know, for a small stretch, I mean, rates were sitting between 4 3/4 and 5% for, you know, a lot of buyers. You know, when they sit there and they tout what is the average interest rate, normally it's, you know, for somebody with, you know, 700 score, loan amount has to be $150,000 and over, and usually they're quoting those where people are putting 20% down. So for the bulk of programs, you know, where you're doing the low down payment, the FHA with only 3.5% down, rates were kind of pushing above 4.5%, and we're actually above 4.5% now. But we were at the brink of, I would say, 5%, you know, just a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And then it really did back down a tad where we were back flat again with the opportunity for rates to go down. I mean, both the 10-year and the 30-year bonds have just kind of did almost a 180.
But for our listeners, where it really comes important, when that interest rate ticks up, it affects their buying power. And so a lot of people, you know, try to buy to their max. Maybe they're a young family and they're trying, Kingsley, to buy to their max. And if they get caught in that and the interest rate jumps up 0.25%, what are some of the things that you, as a loan officer, can do to maybe help them still be able to get in that home?
Well, I mean, you've got, you know, ways of triggering different down payments. There are different grants that help with down payments. So, for example, you know, we've got a great grant program right now that, let's say, for example, you only qualify for FHA, you're really limited on funds. We have a grant program that will cover the 3.5% down payment.
Whoa. So they're under contract, and the interest rate went up, so now they don't qualify for the payment, but they have some cash, and you're actually able to get them a grant to help them buy, so now they can use what would they use that money that they have now for, to buy the rate down, or what would they do?
They can use the cash to buy the rate down, or they can use the cash, you know, for a lower loan amount, depending on the scenario. And obviously, you know, if you're only talking $5,000 or $6,000, it's not going to lower your payment, you know, enough to the point where it's going to affect your qualification that much.
But it might give you enough to buy points to buy it down?
Correct. And also, you know, keep in mind, depending on the price bracket that you're buying in, a seller can help do that too. That's always an option. You know, because if you're going to be locking into a 30-year rate and you have a seller that's willing to give you 6% closing costs, take it. Take that extra money that you may have extra and buy the rate down a point. Even an eighth or 1/4 of a point over 15, 20 years is going to save you thousands.
Approximately, you know, when we talk about a point, you know, Kingsley, can you give us our listeners an idea? Let's just say to get let's say we need 1/4% buy down on the rate. About how much does that cost? I know it varies.
It varies from day to day.
It's like gasoline. It's always changing.
I've seen on one day, just because of where the market is and it's pushing, you know, going up, that just to buy it down 1/8 of a percentage point would cost you like 1.5 points. And then in other days, it could only cost you a quarter or 3/8 of a point.
But my point there is, so if they used your grant program, now they had maybe 3% of their own cash, that may be a way to restructure the financing and let them still get in the home of their dreams.
A loan does not have to be black and white. There's always a way to structure it to make it more beneficial for each individual buyer, and that's part of what I do at GSF, is to look at each individual scenario and figure out what's going to work best for you. I mean, we do have these programs available.
Listen, folks, any small increase in the interest rate can impact your family's wealth. So I'm going to advise you to get together with Kingsley to evaluate your ability to purchase your home, because you want to go in and know exactly how to do it and to know exactly what your options are. There are things that can be done, just like we're explaining, that can help you get in that home. Or if you're already in a contract and you get caught where that interest rate bumps on you, before you panic or you throw in the towel on buying the house, what you want to do is you want to talk to a loan professional, because there are options to do things. Because obviously, Kingsley and I, we don't want you to wait. We want you to move up to your dream home. And as your buyer's purchasing power is being impacted, with the rate changes up and down. So some days you can afford to buy more than others. But right now is the best time to act now to get the most house for your money. And if you're looking to get top dollar on your home, this is interest timing. Let me explain to you why, we push so hard for you to get your home on in the spring. Most people that are buying homes tend to have children. So if you have children, they tend to want to be in their new place before school starts. So that means, folks, your house has to get on the market in April or May so we can sell it and settle, close. That means close on it, where you give the other people the keys before the end of June so that they, know that they can be in by mid-August in order to have the kids start school in the new school district or wherever they are to get the bus. That's very important. That's why, the spring market tends to spike prices. And if you remember last year, we saw it. April and May were extremely strong. As soon as we hit June, there was a slowdown on the sales. June, July, and August last year definitely were not what the spring selling market was. So if you want to get top dollar for your home, you need to be getting it ready right now, and you have to be prepared to put it on the market here. I'm going to say no later than, April 15th, the end of April, because you don't want to miss that May month of selling. And right now there's more competition. You're going to get better prices.
Well, and the reason for that is what? People that have kids that are looking to go up to bigger homes want to be in before the end of the summer, right?
They want to be in before August 15th, I think.
All set up and ready to go. So You've got your average time to look for a home, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. If you're lucky.
Right.
To find that right home. And then from there, you've got, we'll call it 45-day average till you're actually settled. And then you have your moving time. So, it gives them the summer to move in. So what is it, May and June is your hottest months?
Well, if we go by last year, it was actually April and May. By June, when the kids got out of school, we definitely saw a slowdown, June and July.
So you really want your house on the market maybe even by the end of March?
Oh, yeah. We have a lot. I can tell you what, our phones are ringing off the hook over the last few weeks. We have a lot of people putting their homes on the market next week and a lot that are targeting for April 1st. So, So, is our buddy John Stas on the line yet?
We do have John on the line, and I'm going to do my first attempt here to put him on. John, are you with us?
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, John. So I guess we're going to be talking about different types of insulation and things that people should look at.
Yeah. You sent me the text about the brown paper.
Right. So if you can tell us a little bit about insulation, and I want our listeners to know what the purpose of that brown paper is on their insulation.
Sure. So the best way to think about it is it's called craft paper, or it's a vapor barrier, So in your house, you have your drywall, and then before you have the insulation, you have this vapor barrier, depending on what type of insulation you have. And, what is that for? The best way to think about that is, your drywall is not impervious. You have cutouts for where your electrical lines, your electrical switches, outlets, and things. There's a small section of the drywall that's cut out, and sometimes there's a small gap around that device. But what you don't want is the warm air in your house during the winter to get inside the wall. So that vapor barrier sort of seals around things to keep that warm air from in your house from getting inside the wall. And, the reason for that is that as you move through that wall section and get towards the outside of the home, like say, for example, in the winter, the cold air from the outside is also making its way from the outside in. So you don't want that warm air to meet that cold air and release its moisture and form condensation.
Now, I always thought it was because of wind. Like, in other words, if you had that brown seal and it was kind of sealed all the way across, that it prevented, air from penetrating the house from the outside.
Well, as technology progresses, our walls are getting thicker. So we're actually moving towards, as you get a thicker wall, they're moving towards less vapor barriers and more thicker insulation. But if you look at it this way, everything has what's called permeability rating, that, how much air is going to go through that, brick, stone, insulation types, whether it be foam insulation. So what we're moving towards as an industry in the building products is putting thicker insulation and less vapor barriers. Where you get problems inside of a wall is where that warm air meets the cold air. And another way to think about it is the warm air is always going to be going towards the colder air. So during the summer season, the vapor direction is going from inside to outside. The warm air is going from the outside to the inside, and then it reverses during the winter. So what you want to prevent is that airflow, the warm air meeting the cold air. So we're moving towards thicker walls, different products like foam that are going to keep the infiltration and exfiltration, reduce that infiltration and exfiltration of air that's communicating between the outside and the inside.
John, what are some of the different? There's fiberglass insulation. I've seen ground up newspaper. What are some of the types of insulation that you commonly run across out there in the field when you're doing home inspections?
Sure, yes. Probably the most popular types would be the fiberglass insulation, either in bats or a lot of times in the attic you see the blown-in insulation. We see a lot of cellulose. Those are probably the two most popular types. Yeah, like you said, the ground-up newspaper, basically ground-up paper products. It's in the cellulose. Cellulose?
So what kind of, how's that constructed?
It's basically, like John said, the ground-up newspaper, and then they put different types of treatment on it, like a fire resistance treatment, insect treatment. So it's sprayed with a chemical agent to reduce the flammability, and it's usually like boric acid. They put on it some type of product it's sprayed with, and then it can be installed both loose fill in the attic. It can be installed into the walls. They dense pack it into the walls, get it to a certain density, which determines the R value.
Now, are any of those different types of insulations better or worse than others? From an R value standpoint, if I had the choice to put it in my wall?
Sure. They all have their pluses and minuses, but what we're moving towards, some of the foam types of insulation have a lot higher R value, like the yellow foam, polyiso, around 6 to 7 R per inch. Some of the other types of foams, the blue foam, like you see at Lowe's a lot, the EPS.
Now, is that the kind of stuff that you blow in? I've seen the machines where they blow that foam in and it kind of hardens. Is that the kind of foam we're talking about?
it can either be blown in or sprayed on, spray applied, then it expands when it hits that surface, or you can buy it in prefabricated sheets. You can buy it 2 inches thick or 4 inches thick. As I was mentioning, some of the newer homes, they're using a lot of building panels or SIPs, which is foam sandwiched between either 1 or 2 pieces of wood product like OSB. So you can buy it that way. It is the stuff that's field applied where they spray it on.
And the SIP panels are, from my understanding, the way to go. If you can build a SIP home, I think we had Bridalwood on discussing SIP panels.
Yes.
So the SIP panels are about as ideal from a standpoint of R factor from any of them. Is that right?
Yeah, just by their name, the structural insulated panels, they have structural strength, and then also they have a high R value due to the foam that's in them. One of the other advantages, like I said, all installations have their pluses and minuses. When you're buying a panel like that, it's fabricated in a manufacturing situation where the quality control is a lot higher. As John mentioned about spraying the foam, there's a lot of error that can occur in the field. It's not uniform. When you buy a panel that's prefabricated in a factory, windows are installed, the doors are installed already, a lot less chance the guys are going to drop the window as they're installing it or something like that. Nobody knows about it. Hope anybody didn't see. Things like that occur during the construction process can be reduced.
John, one of our Facebook listeners is asking, in your professional opinion, should they look to increase the insulation in their attic? Do you think that's a cost-effective thing for someone with an older home?
Sure, and one of the caveats to that is it's what's called air sealing. You want to, as a general rule, it's good to increase your insulation, but what you also want to do in combination with that is do what's called air sealing, reducing the air from in your house that gets up into the attic through, let's say, can lights or, attic access hatches. Because what happens with that is that can, if you just add the insulation, you don't reduce that, you still could have potentially a lot of energy loss. In combination with the air sealing, it's a really good idea.
So it sounds to me like what you're saying is that the homeowner, one of their first concerns should be air movement.
Exactly.
So this might be another one of those foam situations. Like I know I went through my house at the beginning of the winter, and, where all your outlets are, you could feel air rushing in through your outlets. So the same thing theoretically is happening where your lights are being hung, right? So
yeah, exactly. Your guest, John Kotz, that was on a couple months ago, who does air sealing. A lot of times people replace their windows. That's not always the problem. You want to stop that infiltration, exfiltration, get everything sealed up. And, same with your attic. Your second floor, your first floor where it meets the attic, you want to get that all sealed up. As I mentioned, can lights, you mentioned lights. They make, for a can light, they make, it's called an insulated trim kit that will insulate that light and stop the warm air in your house from rushing up through that light into your attic.
Nice. Yeah, I know I had a ball with a can of Great Stuff foam, and I went around to all the outlets and anywhere where I felt a breeze to I think it actually helped. I think it actually lowered the cost down.
And they make those little outlet things. You take the cover off, and it's a little insulated thing. You stick it right on, put the cover back on.
Great. So if somebody has a question or if they want you to take a look at their attic, see if maybe their house is insulated properly, maybe get some pointers as far as what they can do to improve, what's the best number to call you on, John?
Sure. Best number is 717-233-6144.
And as always, you're on ebqharrisburg.com, right? And
that's it, yes.
And EBQ Harrisburg on Facebook. John
That's
Stas,
right.
everybody, from EBQ Harrisburg. Thanks for coming on. And I think we're supposed to have a nice 60-degree day today, so enjoy.
Enjoy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, John. Well, that was interesting. Yeah, I mean, the insulation does play, a big thing about, saving money. But we're back, talking about things that you need to consider when you're selling your home here in 2018, especially in the spring market. One of the big impacts that I see as a real estate agent is a lot of times people don't want to give what we're going to say access to the house. They want the realtor to be there. They don't want a lockbox. They only wanted to have the house shown between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And folks, that can cost you money. You want to be able to give as wide open access as you can. If your realtor calls you and they want to show the house, somebody wants to show the house this afternoon at 1 o'clock, you definitely want to try to accommodate them at any cost. I mean, keep your dishwasher empty, so you've got to throw dirty stuff in it. You can do that. You can always throw stuff in the washer and the dryer, in the stove to hide it, but you want to get that showing. I mean, if not, they may go on to see another home that may not be as nice as yours or may not be priced as well as yours, but because they didn't see yours, it's not even on the shelf for them. They'll go ahead and they'll pick a home, especially in the market right now, because they know that they may get into competition. As soon as they see something that they're willing to accept, pretty much I'm seeing them write offers. How about you, Kingsley?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, you become conditioned, especially after you miss the first one. But,
yeah,
here's just a little bit of advice. Be ready to go from the get-go. If you see it, write it, be done with it, and having a realtor listen to a realtor that has the experience to say, look, here's what we should offer. I don't want you to miss out on this house. Because trust me, right now the market's hot, and the last thing you want to do is quabble over a couple $1,000s in whether it's seller help or purchase price, when most likely there's going to be multiple offers on that property.
One statement we make a lot in the real estate industry is the home that you see today and you love, somebody else may have seen yesterday or the day before, and they're already writing an offer on it. Don't beat around the bush. It's like on that American Pickers show. The time to buy it is when you see it, and if you like it, move forward on it.
Yeah, there's no hesitating, especially in this market. And with that being said, make sure you're pre-qualified and ready to go, because the last thing the realtor is going to want to have to do is wait for you to go through the process.
One of the things that people ask realtors and that you rely on us to do is to help you price the home. And the overall recommendation, even though it's a hot market, is don't overprice your home. National Association of Realtors, for example, is going to tell you that your most bang for the buck is to actually price it at market or a little below. And the reason is because more people will look at it. If they see something that they feel is overpriced, they're less likely to look at it. Many times I've had sellers over the years and they say, well, I just want to try an extra $20,000 on it. Here's what happens, folks. No matter what, that property is going to have to appraise because almost everyone's getting a mortgage. So you may get somebody that's silly enough to pay you $20,000 over market, but if the appraisal doesn't come back in, you may be 4 weeks into your supposed sale and have that bite you in the butt because now the appraiser's saying, no, you're not worth $220,000. It only appraises for $198,000. I understand you got an offer on it, but now you have a problem. Kingsley, how does that play in with like government-backed loans, like if it's like an FHA or VA loan and they get that low appraisal? How long does that stand?
How long does the appraisal stand?
Yeah, I mean, how long will that lower appraisal, the actual appraisal impact them? 3 months?
Well, I mean, it's going to be at least 90 days, yeah. Now, with that being said, too, because obviously the market's going to fluctuate from month to month, but an appraisal is good for 90 days if it was done either FHA or VA. So, what would you do in that instance as a buyer or seller? You'd have to actually pay the difference out of cash because the government and or the programs are not going to say, hey, you know what, John? you're a good buyer. It's okay that the property's only worth $200. We'll give you that loan for $220. Doesn't work that way.
So, when you're out there, folks, I'm obviously as a, real estate agent now for, 30 years, I'm going to give you some advice here when you're hiring an agent. You don't want an agent that's, just talking about themselves or how great their firm is. You want someone that's going to be brutally honest with you. One that's going to tell you that mold around your bathroom tub is going to turn off a buyer. The one that's going to tell you, that the washing machine and the 1981 Chevette that you have up on blocks in the front yard might have to go. Realtors, and I'm going to give a sweeping generalization. It doesn't matter what company they work for. Okay, you're hiring the agent that's in front of you. You need to trust them, and they need to be able to educate you, and you need to feel comfortable that they're working in your and your family's best interest. You really, what they say in the business is you want someone who's got the heart of a teacher, someone who's going to educate you about the market, educate you about the condition the home needs to be in, and not be telling you that they're the most wonderful thing since sliced bread. It's very important that you pick somebody that you're going to be comfortable with, that you feel has a real pulse on the market, that really knows what's going on.
Wait, hold up. You mean to tell me that the realtor that you pick has to have a pulse?
Well, yeah, I meant to say a finger on the pulse of what's going on in the real estate market. Remember, your house has to be sold twice. It's got to be sold once to the person that's going to make the offer that you're going to, negotiate and accept. And then it's got to be sold to that appraiser, too. And because what that value that the appraiser puts on it, that's going to impact what the bank's willing to loan your buyer. As we told you a few weeks ago on one of our shows here in the central Pennsylvania area, we've had some issues with the new multi-list system, and a lot of the appraisers have been screaming because the data hasn't been correct. And so that can impact your value. A good real estate agent is going to help provide the appraiser with known comparables just to be sure that they have the most accurate data. Because our new system right now has had some frustrations for the appraisers and frustrations for, obviously, some of the buyers and sellers. The appraiser's values overall right now compared to a homeowner's estimates, they're getting closer, folks. During the heat, the bottom of the market, there was definitely a larger gap between what the homeowner thought their house was worth and what the appraiser did. I'm going to give you 5 quick reasons why I don't feel you should sell for sale by owner. Right now anymore, my business has become more technical. So you have to have an agent that's also tech savvy. You have to have someone that understands 3D virtual reality, that knows the internet, that knows how to do social media marketing. Because 49% of all buyers are going to buy the home that they find on the internet. You've heard me say this before. The new curb appeal is how your home is presented on the internet. So agents that utilize things like single property websites, smart lead capture, that's all important. It's not like years ago where we had people driving around and calling in off of signs. That's very rare. The new sign calls actually are done on the internet when they find your property on a place like realtor.com or the agent's website or on the company's website or on a Craigslist ad. How is that home presented? Is it good quality photos? Is there a video? Is there a voiceover on the virtual tour? What are they doing? What are they bringing to the table to make the commercial for your home really have some sizzle? We all know that they put steaks on those metal plates in a restaurant because they're not selling. That sizzle sells the steak. Okay, so Kingsley, you have anything you want to add on that?
No, this is a great time. This is a great market. This is a great opportunity for people to sell, buy, and take advantage of the low interest rates. So get out there, get pre-qualified. Call John, get some advice. Call me, get pre-qualified. Until next week,
Real answers,
real studios,
real people,
real houses.
questions, real pets.
All right.
Something like that, man. I know we're going to
Till next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Radio Guys with John Rainville and Kingsley Harmer. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit pagoloan.com, brokersrealty.com, and facebook.com/realestateradio guy. If you